In today's video, what we're going to talk about is how to start a bottled water business. That's right, how to start a bottled water business. And you're in for a very special treat. So I invited one of my very special friends onto the podcast show to share his story about how he actually started a bottled water business from scratch. Okay, from scratch. And I had the unique pleasure of being able to watch him go from just it being an idea in his mind to actually materializing it in the real world and actually being able to create a profitable bottled water business. So I'm excited to have this guest on the podcast show. I think regardless of what your background is, regardless of what interests you have, whether you're interested in being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, or even just advancing in your general career, he's going to be sharing with you some very specific ideas, strategies, and concepts that will be able to help you advance in your career. So I'm excited for you. Please give us your undivided attention and let's go ahead and dive right in. Welcome to another episode of Career Strategies. My name is Rodney Hughes, Mr. 100%. Today's episode is being brought to you by The Ugly Truth About Getting Hired, how to land the job of your dreams regardless of the competition. In this book, you're going to discover the secrets to landing a top dollar job offer with ease. You're going to learn a simple step-by-step interview prep system that will help you dramatically improve your odds of landing the top dollar job offer that you deserve. If that sounds like something you're interested in learning more about, you can pick up a copy of this book today by heading over to www.theuglytruthbook.com. That's www.theuglytruthbook.com. Once again, that's www.theuglytruthbook.com.
All right, guys. Got a very, 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 very special guest on the podcast today. And I'm super excited to kind of dive into this guy's background. Very special friend of mine. His name is Ricardo Jones. And, you know, to me, he is what I would consider to be a unicorn. Okay. And, you know, whenever I talk to him, you know, oftentimes I'll refer to him as a unicorn. And the reason why I say that is because he has started something, and by something specifically a business, several businesses really, but you know, he has started a business from scratch that is a bottled water company. Okay, and I would probably argue that most people in the world don't know someone that owns a bottled water business or a bottling company at all. Okay. And so I'm super excited to have him on the podcast today as a guest. And I'm excited to kind of dive into his background. So welcome to the show, Mr. Ricardo Jones. How you doing, man?
What's up? Man, I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Doing phenomenal, man. I want to dive into your background. I think that, you know, on my podcast show, really what it's committed to is really helping people understand how they can generate more success in less time in their career. And you are one of the most successful people that I know. Okay. And so let's start here before we kind of dive into your background. You know, you have a bottled water company called Precipitate. Tell me a little bit about that water brand. Share it with people.
Yeah, so I started this water brand / company called Precipitate. And with Precipitate, what we wanted to do was focus specifically on water. But our main mission is to provide free bottled water for kids. That's what we specialize with. And by doing that, we provide that with our donation program. So it's a percentage, 20% of your qualifying purchase. We donate to any youth or sports recreational program in the United States or in the world, you know, if you have those type of connections. But that's just our overall goal. You know, I get a lot of questions about the business. Oh, is this a nonprofit? No, we for profit. And what we want to do is we want to give back those profits as being a company to youth sports and recreation in the communities that we serve.
That's dope. So like, tell me, like, where did you even think to even start a bottled water company?
Man, man, just thinking about, well, it's a number of things, but being an athlete like yourself, coming up through the ranks, I played basketball coming up and different things of that nature. But I always was, with coaches, you always see coaches trying to raise money. You always seeing kids forget things or parents forget things like water or a snack or something when you're traveling or even when you're playing in the game. So that's what really kind of got me thinking about, wow, how could I help youth organizations and sports organizations? Because I feel like the youth in sports or recreational programs is not going to go away. People are always going to try and have, that type of involvement for their kids as an outlet, minus the time that we're in right now. But however, these organizations still happen, with social distancing and stuff. So that's kind of like the ethos of it, just really thinking about a solution for kids.
That's dope. And how did you come about giving free water for kids? Like that's an interesting angle on it. And when I think about like some of the other water brands that are out there, some of the big ones that we've all kind of heard of, and we'll dive a little more into that later. But when I think about these, your proposition is so unique. It's so different. I haven't heard of a water brand that is focused on giving free water to kids. You know what I'm saying? So like, how did you even start to kind of think about that idea or of positioning yourself from that perspective?
Well, I just, for me, it's kind of one of those personal things. I mean, you got all of these like supplements and all these different types of drinks, but at the end of the day, coming up and playing sports, and the number one thing that's going to get you hydrated is water, and also too, with providing water in general, I wanted to provide a quality yet healthy solution for kids, starting them out. I didn't want to provide a supplement or, sugar or a bunch of, chemicals to kids and say, hey, this will make you jump higher and run faster. I just wanted to provide something that was clean, simple, and, healthy. So that's why I chose water. Like, that's it.
And that's real interesting. So let's take a step back for a minute, okay? Because I know a little bit about your backstory, and I always say that it's kind of interesting. Like when you think about what Steve Jobs once said, where he was like, "You can never connect the dots looking forward, but you can always connect the dots looking backwards." And I think you have a very, very interesting backstory, especially when you look at the fact that you own a bottled water company at this point. So tell me a little bit about, your upbringing and what you experienced along the way that kind of tied into like this business at this point.
Yeah. So, I previously worked for PepsiCo. It's been a while. It's probably been now almost 8-9 years since I worked there, which time flies. But yeah, I was a district manager at PepsiCo, but I was in the Frito-Lay division. But, my dad actually worked for PepsiCo, but he works in the Tropicana division, and he's been working there for over 35 years, so ever since I was a kid. So I've always understood the beverage business and understood, what it takes to, hydrate yourself. And, just kind of understanding that and working it, and then understanding, how that distribution works when actually getting the real experience from working from PepsiCo and partnering with bottlers from the Frito-Lay side. I kind of understood the business. So, it's to me, I understand the business side and the operational side of, how to actually make this thing work. So, that's a little bit of my background in bottling beverages and just consumer products in general.
Yeah, that's dope. And what PepsiCo is like? What the top? They're in the top 1, 1-2 combination.
Yeah, you got Pepsi, you got Coke. Which one you want? And then everybody else just kind of fall behind. I mean, and then also too, I mean, if you really start thinking about big brands, you know, Gatorade is up under the Pepsi umbrella, and then you got Powerade is up under the Coke umbrella. So, you know, when you talk about beverages on the planet, I mean, even water, Dasani is Coke, Aquafina is Pepsi. You know, so that's really one and two. The only other beverage providers that's bigger than both of those is the ocean. So.
And it's hard to compete with the ocean. They got 70% of the marketplace, huh?
Yep.
Goodness gracious. No, man, I think that's so dope though, because you know, that old, I think it was Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Outlier, you know, and they talk about putting your 10,000 hours in. You know what I mean? And what's interesting is, like, essentially what I'm hearing here is that your entire life, you've in some way, shape, fashion, or form been around the bottling business. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's interesting. You know what I mean? Like, did you learn things like before you started working for PepsiCo? I mean, were there things that you learned from your dad or whatever about the business that you didn't even necessarily know you were learning at that time, but you kind of picked up about the business?
Yeah, just some things that he would talk about. Now I kind of think about it, you know, from the co-packing environment to you know, product safety, manufacturing, scale. You know, I didn't understand all that stuff really until I got to college and, you know, really dove into the business aspect of how things work and how things are moved through, how consumer products are moved through the economy. But you know, he would talk shop with people, or you know, he'll be trying to explain a lot of different things. He was, excuse me, he's right now I know he's a couple positions. At one time, you know, he's a chemist, and you know, he worked with a lot of the ingredients, and then you know, he worked in the silos, and now he's working with the engineers and the leadership roles. So you know, companies like that, so multifaceted. You know, I try and just talk to him about being, you know, dad, but we talk a little bit of shop. So, but to answer your question, yeah, you know, he kind of was letting me know some things, which now I kind of connect the dots to moving forward with my brand.
How trippy is that from your dad's perspective though? Like, you know, your dad has been working in this industry pretty much your whole life, okay? And now his son owns a bottled water company, like flat out owns a bottled water company. How crazy is that? I mean, first off, how crazy is it? Also, how crazy is it from your perspective? Like, I don't even, like, when I talk to you sometimes, I don't even know if you realize how crazy that is, that you own a bottled water. Most people that they're going to listen to this, most people on this planet will never meet somebody who owns their own bottle, you know, whether it's bottled water, whether it's soda, you know, juices. Most people will never actually meet someone who owns a bottling company. So, like, is that trippy when you think about it? Do you think your dad's perspective is like tripped out about it?
Yeah, well, you know, us building brands, and for me, my dad, you know, he is scratching his head. You know, I showed him a couple of my new marketing pieces and stuff, and he was like, "Man, you gotta, what you doing over there? Like, hey, this some, hey, I wasn't expecting this, you know." So I gotta, actually, it's funny, I gotta give him a call, you know, a little bit later today, and we're gonna catch up on that. But yeah, for me, I mean, I just love, you know, I got a passion just for creating products and creating brands and stuff like that, and you know, at the end of the day, it's just something I love to do. So it's not, I think it's exciting for me to create it and for me to be able to execute the mission, right? To be able to help the kids or whatever you want to do. And then also too, to be able to get it out in front of people so that they can actually be able to try it, to be able to have access to the product. I think that's it. And then building on top of that is staying true. I think that's what really excites me. But, you know, I don't know. I never really looked at it like that until you really kind of pointed it out. To be honest with you, I just, you know, it's just kind of maybe it was already embedded in me, but I never really looked at it like, dang man, really connecting the dots. Wow, that's kind of maybe how you got there. It was already in you, but I never looked at it like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's good. That's a good observation.
I want to dive a little deeper into products and stuff because I know some of the conversations that you and I have had over the years, your depth of understanding about just products in general, you know what I mean, is really, really interesting. Like, where did that start? Like, how did you, when do you, help me understand, like, where you got started looking into products? Because you've been into it for, like, a very long time.
So that all came from just my love of, playing sports, but specifically sneakers, tennis shoes. I was a big time, pretty much like an enthusiast. I'll go up above and beyond just the consumer because I had just this like such a love and such a passion for sneakers, athletic sneakers. Whether it was Nike is my first love, but I like Adidas, Reebok, Asics, Saucony. I even like Brooks, Merrell. Now you get into more of the fashion stuff. So like, the Off-White, Fear God, their shoe lines. And, I just love sneakers. Also too, Soul Architect. That's a new brand, I'm really starting to like and different things of that nature. So man, I just always have a passion for, just sneakers and actually how they were designed, how the story was told on how that particular design of that sneaker was and how that functionality is and ultimately how the consumer or the person that's purchasing that shoe can interact with that product. So that's what really sparked it. I mean, that, anybody who know me, from grade school all the way up to till now, they know that, he crazy about his shoes.
Yeah, your shoe game is definitely on another level. You know what I mean? I've seen you with some shoes like, what are those? You know what I'm saying? And not in the bad way, not the bad. What are those? But like no, for real. Like, what are those? Like, you know what I mean? So I think that's super dope. Now, kind of to come back to Precipitate, like, help me understand from when you got started with it. Like, what has been some of the most challenging stuff that you had to deal with starting a bottled water company?
Well, starting a water company, one of the main things is we got to start out as a brand first. And I'll be candid with you, the capital of starting a water brand, it can be costly, because you got to get the design, you got to get the labeling, obviously the business LLC, but then also too, you want to be able to trademark your brand. That's the operational side of it. And then you got to go out, if you don't already have, I guess, some type of pond or lake or spring, you got to find a partner to be able to bottle with. So you got to definitely find a quality bottler. And then from there, you got to be able to set your margins in order to be profitable. But I think the hardest part is once you get over the branding piece and all that other stuff that I just said, I think the distribution. Because water is tricky, it's fluid ounces and that fluid ounces go into pounds. And so it can get real heavy real fast. And with shipping things heavy, everyone kind of knows that it could be expensive. So the key to it is understanding that, you got to find that fine line of your product. And then you got to find that other fine line of how can I get that product to my customer effectively. And I think that's the trick.
And what are some of the ways that you've been effective at distributing your bottled water company? Because I think that, in and of itself, just starting the business itself seems like it would be a very challenging task to take on. You know what I mean? But then once you have the product like you do, which, by the way, is easily one of the best tasting waters I've ever had, once you get the great product, like, what are some of the ways that you've gone about actually distributing your product?
So, I mean, that kind of goes a little bit into, the strategy piece, but, you got to really understand that, for one, what type of product you have, and then you got to be willing to understand how you're going to target it. So what I actually looked at is, and for me is I want to be able to get the product to youth sports and recreational programs. And so what I do is that I go out and I pretty much create marketing specifically to tie it to student athletes, students, and parents, right? And then my other point is that it's a beverage. I understand that it's a beverage, right? And where do people go to buy beverages? They're going to go to a place where they have assortment and where they actually shop. So whether it's a convenience store, whether it's a grocery store, or if you're going online. And everybody know online, the main big dog online is Amazon. So, you got to be able to get your product accessible there. And that's pretty much, from a strategic perspective, that's how I looked at, starting up my distribution for my business.
Man, that's super dope. And, let's talk about that Amazon piece for a second, because it can be easy. Like I just ordered something today on Amazon, a piece of equipment for my business. And it can be easy to kind of look at Amazon and think that it is, that you just jump on there and then you're rich tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's buying from Amazon, right? But like in the space you're in particular, I mean, dude, you're going against juggernauts, okay? And I know a little bit about, the success that you've had on that platform, and it's freaking phenomenal to me. And so, help, kind of give a little bit of insight as to what that experience has been like, even dealing with Amazon and being, and more importantly, not just dealing with Amazon, but like your path to success in dealing with Amazon.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll be candid, it's still, ongoing with Amazon. And the reason why I say that is because Amazon can be a bit complex when you really want to start selling items at volume, right? And I would say this: Amazon is an equivalent to being in the actual grocery store, right? From setting up your actual profile to identifying your products in the correct categories, to actually having SKUs on your products, and then being able to have those SKUs tie back to your GS1, which certifies you as an actual item that can be sold to consumers, right? And then on top of that, right, once you actually get your product up there, okay, what type of imagery can you have